in Hinduism they call astral body. This astral body, people who are psychic can see. So she already turned into this ghost inside. So when she died, this ghost left the body. So the teeth disappeared. So this man told me, this auntie, the karma so bad. Few years earlier, he tried to bring her into the Dhamma. She won't listen to Dhamma talks. Give her, she won't listen. So he thought, minimum teach her to chant Namo Tassa. Just chanting Namo Tassa also she could not manage, She tried to chant until every way she tried until the tears came down. She said, don't teach me, I cannot do it. So you see the karma is so heavy. Like Devadatta, because he tried to kill the Buddha a few times, his karma was so heavy. In the end, he felt remorse, he repented. So he wanted to go and see the Buddha, but he could never see the Buddha because of his bad karma. Before he reached the Buddha, he died. So a lot of this has to do with the past karma. So if a person has, for example, an animal nature inside, or a ghost nature inside, it won't. But if a person has, for example, a human nature or a deva or devi nature, you'll be interested in the Dhamma. Last time when I was in Medan, Indonesia, there was one man who says that he can see ghosts and can see devas and devis. So he says sometimes when monks give Dhamma talk, you can see many devis sitting up in the air there, listening to the Dhamma. So devis, they have affinity, devas and devis want to listen to Dhamma. Some human beings, not all. So there are some you cannot bring them into the Dhamma.
Thank you, Bhante. Yeah, the question at the back.
Hi, Bhante. Just want to seek your advice or some opinion. Because you mentioned that we should keep our practice, like keeping all the 5 precepts. And what happens if, let's say, other people treating us badly, like giving us abusive words, and also abusive actions to us, treating us very badly. So how can we, still practice Dhamma, and also how do we deal with it? Okay, thanks.
In the suttas, it is mentioned that an ordinary worldling, putujana, will have mental suffering and physical suffering. Okay? But an Arya does not have mental suffering, but he still has physical suffering, like the Buddha. So, this mental suffering comes from thinking. And the suffering happens because we cannot accept certain things. But when we understand the Dhamma, then we know that everything happens according to conditions, causes and conditions, yin yang. So we accept it. So in this case, it may be something to do with your past life. In your past life, you had probably hurt this person, and then he comes back and he wants to hurt you in a certain way. So we have to accept it. We accept it that it is our karma. Then when you accept it, then you be nice to that person, and that person will be very surprised. And then slowly he will change his attitude towards you. So whatever happens, we have to accept it. You don't want to accept it also, it will come. Can't do anything, yeah?
Hello. Good morning, Bhante. I would like a clarification on gratitude towards parents, because like just today is Father's Day, right? So we know that we have to take care of our parents, repay our parents, and then the Buddha also said in the Mangala Sutta that taking care of parents is the greatest blessing. Then, but however, there's a misconception that if let's say the son or the daughter enters into monkhood like that, and then how would they take care or repay their parents? There's a misconception there, so I would appreciate if Bhante can clarify that.
The last part, can you repeat again? Suppose the son or the daughter what?
Yeah, I would like to become a monk, and then how would that son take care of their parents, because he has to leave the family and go and practice like that. So how? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so if somebody wants to renounce, first he has to consider his family duties. Like in my case, when I wanted to renounce, I had to consider who's going to take care of my old parents. And luckily, I had a brother. My parents were old-fashioned type. They only want to stay with the son, not the daughter. They had 2 sons, 6 daughters. But they didn't want to stay with the daughter. But nowadays it's different. Nowadays people realize that daughters are more filial than sons. So, because I had my brother, even though he was Catholic, because he married a Catholic lady, he was willing to look after my mother, so that's how I could go. But even then, I realized I should do my duty to provide for my parents. So I saved up enough money to pay for a house. After I paid for the house, then I left the house for my... By that time, I wanted to renounce. My father died. So I saw more dukkha. Then I left the house for my mother, then I left. So in the case of like this, somebody who wants to renounce, he has to see whether the mother can be taken care of by other brothers and sisters, or at least to have the financial security to be looked after. Yeah? You cannot just run away. Many years ago when I was in Thailand, I saw one monk about 30-something years old. He came to become a monk, and then the wife every day will come to the monastery with a small kid, looking very sad. So I thought, this fellow, not right. You leave your wife alone like that to take care of the burden.
Bhante, just now you say that the wise observe 7 precepts. I did not catch the other 2 precepts because Bhante went very fast. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a lot to quote from the sutta, so I went very fast. But never mind, it's all recorded. You can listen to it another 2-3 times. Now, this about the 7 precepts, a lot of people think that we have to keep 5 precepts, actually 7 precepts. Originally, the Buddha spoke about 7 precepts. Later, he mentioned 5. Why? Because in the Vinaya books, we see, at first the Buddha did not make any precept against liquor. So there was a monk, I think his name was Sagara or something. He had psychic powers, and the Buddha asked him to stay in external sect temple, because the external sect temple, in the altar, they kept a naga, what we like to call dragon spirit, a snake spirit. So, and this naga doesn't like other people to come into that temple. So this monk with psychic powers, he went to pass the night in that temple. And then in the middle of the night, the naga came to disturb him. At first, blew smoke on him. Then he sat in meditation and he blew smoke back to the naga. And then the naga got angry. blew flame at him. So he also blew flame at the Naga. So they were involved in a big fight the whole night. And those monks outside who had psychic powers, they could see. So early next morning, he came out of the villagers all thought, this fellow habis, must all be burned up. But the next morning, he came out of the temple with his alms bowl. And then they asked him what happened. He opened the alms bowl, he showed them the Naga inside the alms bowl. So he subdued the Naga. So the news went around about this monk having great psychic power. So when he went on alms round, there were a few monks following him. And these few monks were a gang of rotten monks. You know, in the Vinaya, you have a few gangs, gang of 6 monks, gang of 17 monks and all that, all the rotten eggs. So these monks followed him. So the villagers were very impressed by this monk with psychic power. They asked him, Bhante, is there anything else we can offer you? So he's a cultivated monk. He doesn't want anything. He said, no need. But these monks behind, they say, oh yeah, toddy. Tua, you know. So they brought liquor and served him. At that time, there was no precept against liquor. So they drank. But these rotten monks, they are seasoned drinkers. They boleh tahan. This monk never drank before. He drank after a few rounds. When he reached the main gate, he collapsed. They had to carry him back to the monastery. So then they informed the Buddha. From that time, the Buddha made the precept against liquor. So actually, taking liquor, you don't harm other people. Yeah, that's why. But when he was lying there, the Buddha said, you look at Sagara. He's sleeping with his feet towards the Tathagata, his head away. Last time, he would always sleep with his head towards the Tathagata, the feet away. Now can he fight the Naga? The Buddha asked. So from then on, the Buddha made the rule against liquor. So from just now I said, from the Noble Eightfold Path, there are 3 factors that involve sila. That is right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Right speech, there are 4 precepts. Right action, there are 3 precepts. Right livelihood is covered by these 7 precepts. So altogether there are 7 precepts. So it's very important to uphold these 7 precepts. You can drink a little bit of liquor and don't get mabuk.
Bhante, I have a question. Bhante, my mom used to say that he get gong tao, people, lok gong tao. So I want to ask, in Buddhism, how we look at this gong tao? Is it a real thing, or if people say that they kena gong tao, how should we react to it? Thank you.
There are some monks who say there is no such thing as gong tao, black magic. I personally heard this many years ago. There was an old monk in Penang. He tell people there is no such thing. But from talking to various people, I believe such things exist. And the thing is, if you have good karma, it cannot harm you. You got to not only have good sila, you have got to have a lot of goodness inside you. There's an Indian belief that for every precept you keep, there is one deva looking after you. You keep 10 precepts, there are 10 devas. You keep 200 precepts, there are 200 devas looking. That's why some virtuous monks, they go deep into the forest, they're not harmed. They go deep in the forest, there are a lot of dangerous beings, unseen beings, but they don't get harmed because they can read your mind. They know what type of person you are. So you have metta, loving kindness and all that, you won't get harmed. Normally people with ji-un care, one so tai, because they don't have enough blessings. They're always fearful, like just now the sutta said. Fears arise in the fool, not in the wise man. So you have to, the Buddha's way, if you walk the Buddha's way, practice the Buddha's teachings, you'll be very safe. Many years ago, I followed my first teacher. I had a lot of faith with him that time because I was ignorant, just come into Buddhism, Mahayana teacher. I stayed with him 3 years. Eventually, I came to realize he dabbles with black magic. He tried to harm me once, but I was practicing so hard. I don't know how many devas were protecting me, but I didn't get harmed.
Bhante, can you explain the law of attraction in the perspective of Buddhism? Because like if we read from Western knowledge, training, they have all these law. You read the book, The Secret, they talk about the law of attraction, ask and you shall receive, all these things, right? So how Buddhism can answer in this? Because personally, recently, I have some experience on this. Both good and bad. Like for example, this kind of thought doesn't just I created it and so it happened. It just came and then it happened. So for example, the good one, I had a thought like my uncle is actually sitting beside me, and then I suddenly thought like, oh, suddenly I thought of like my uncle is going to give me money, and then poof, it really gave him like 100. Yeah, this is true. Like really, it just came and then really happened. He gave me 100. So this is, I didn't create it, but it just happened. So the bad one, I got a feeling that something is not right. Something is, it was an event and then something wasn't going, something will happen. And then it turned out really some challenges, obstacles just happened. Yeah, I didn't create it just happened. And then is this called the law of attraction? I don't know. Thank you.
There is no such law of attraction in Buddhism, but there is a law of karma vipaka. Yeah? So according to the law of karma vipaka, if you have the good karma, things will go the way you want, provided you have this condition of good karma. Also, like you say, attraction. Some people are attracted to another person mainly because of past life karma. No? If you have an affinity with somebody you like in the past, this life when you see him or her, you see mukha manis, they're attracted. But as far as that making wishes, if you have the good karma, it can happen. But if you don't have the good karma, it will not happen. Sometimes you can force the thing, Have you heard of some people, they want to get a Ampat Eco number, they go to the cemetery at 12 midnight, they poke a bamboo into the grave, and then they pour the blood of a chicken or something, and then the ghost cannot stand, the ghost come out. And then if they have the courage enough, they will ask for the number. Many of them will run away. But what happens is that sometimes this fellow, he strikes the number and then he gets a lot of money. But after enjoying for a short while, that person dies. Then people say, oh, that ghost caused it. But I think what happened is this fellow, his good karma is not much. His blessings is not much. Now he has forced the ghost to give him the number and struck it rich. So he enjoyed himself, all the good karma used up. So his life as a human being is gone, is used up, his good karma. We continue to live as a human being because we have the good karma of a human being. Some people, they don't have the good karma. You can see some children, 1 year old, 2 years old, they get cancer and they die. Why? Because they don't have that good karma to continue as a human being. Even devas, the Buddha said, there are some devas, they are enjoying themselves in heaven, totally enjoying themselves. After many years, they have used up their good karma, they will suddenly die. Karma, blessing is very important. So some people, they go to a temple, they pray to the deva for help. If their karma is good, they can be helped. If the karma is no good, nobody wants to help them.
Good morning, Bhante. I have a question. How can we deepen the Yoniso Manasikara to focus attention for us to learn and reflect Dhamma? Thank you, Bhante.
This Yoniso Manasikara are found in intelligent people. If a person is intelligent, he can focus his mind for a short while. That short while to listen to the Dhamma and understand. The other type of person who has Yoniso Manasikara is to cultivate it by samadhi, getting one-pointedness of mind. So in the suttas, the Buddha said, let an intelligent person come to me. I will teach him the Dhamma. The Buddha can only teach people who have the good karma to understand. The Buddha doesn't teach Dhamma to everyone he meets, So he only select people. So if you have the good karma, you'll be able to focus your mind. But if you find difficulty, then you have to train your mind to focus by practicing, for example, anapanasati, paying attention to your breath. Nowadays, there's a lot of distraction on the internet. So you find, for example, children who play games, their attention span is very short. They keep going from one thing to another. But meditation is not. Meditation is one object all the time. You focus on one object. You train your mind to focus. That is very important. If you are able to train your mind to focus, whatever you do, you need this ability to focus. Even those kickboxers in Thailand, before they go for their match, they sit down and meditate. They get concentration first. Any sports, if they need to concentrate, they will sit down and meditate and get their mind together. And then, so either you are born with it or you have to cultivate it by practicing samatha.
Bhante, I'd like to ask this question. If we have friends who are suffering, or bedridden, or with deep illness, normally if they are Buddhists, we can easily talk to the family members and try to call in Bhante to give him a blessing so that his suffering can go away. Or normally we understand that if he's a non-Buddhist, sometimes you can advise the family member and says, he might be suffering 2 years bedridden, and cannot live. And the family members are wise to talk to him and say some good things to him and ask him to go. But there are cases that if they are non-Buddhist and the person lying in the bed almost 2-3 years, and we as Buddhists and as a friend and understand that, and the family, probably the family members all give up. They don't know he's still lying down there and suffering. Should we as Buddhists volunteer or to ask Bhante to come in and give him a blessing? Probably he's so frightened to go away. Or are we interfering into the karma of the individual? What should we do?
The most important thing is to find out whether he wants the monk to go and do the chanting or whatever, or the family members want. If, for example, they are Christians, they don't want you to go and bring a Buddhist monk. They get angry. Yeah. So firstly, it's just like giving advice. You want to give advice to somebody, you must see whether that person is willing to accept that advice. So that's the most important thing. If they want, only you do it.
Bhante, allow me to ask a simple question. You know, a few of the temples that I have been associated with, they sort of encourage dana and transfer of merits to the dead. There's this case where the lady just before passing away, seems to see a black dog for quite some time, for a few days, I would say. And I've read, I don't know where, in one of the Dhamma book, that seeing black dog before death could be a nimitta, showing that the person might become a dog after death. So in this particular case, does it mean that even if the family would like to do transfer of merit for her, she might not be able to get it? So in other words, no need to do transfer of merit. Thank you.
Are you asking before death or after death?
After death, then there's no need to do a transfer of merit for her, is that right?
Well, firstly, I'm not sure whether that person is going to be reborn as a dog or not. Yeah, you're not sure, ma. But the sutta says that if our relative has passed away, we can only help them if they are reborn as ghosts. And I believe that is so because only ghosts come back. Only ghosts can come back. So the Buddha also said that we have many relatives and friends in the ghost realm. We may have forgotten about them. So every time we do dana, food dana, we should transfer merit to all our departed relatives and friends in the ghost realm. There are many there that you have forgotten. They'll be very happy to receive. So just in case your friend is reborn as a ghost, then that friend will receive it. No?
Thank you. Bhante, on these questions which are being asked, all of us have belief. We have belief, but we lack understanding. Culturally, we are caught up with a lot of mumbo-jumbo, different races, different religion, different culture. So in this part, what we actually have, like example, recently we lost a dear friend in a hospital, and she was cultivated, but basically in the time when we go to Western doctors, like the brother's question at the back, sometimes we understand our Dhamma and we understand about Pancha Nirvana, skepticism, doubt, and restlessness, which actually manifests during the end of our lives. But at the same time, what we find is we have doctors injecting us with morphine, injecting us with drugs to keep us like stable. So if we are a cultivator and we are practicing, does these conditions which arise actually help us to realize that this is the conditions of suffering and help us in our path to actually gain liberation? But at the same time, the doctors are actually jabbing us and jabbing us and jabbing us and putting us back into a deluded state. I would like to get some clarification for the benefit of all to actually see the wisdom of what we do. Thank you.
Of course, injections and morphine and all that is not to make you see Dhamma. It's just to prolong your life. So, at the last moment, if you want to think of Dhamma and all that, actually it only helps very little, because there is a sutta where a cousin of the Buddha came to ask the Buddha. He said, Bhagava, I was wondering if I were to die a sudden death, for example, killed by a man, or knocked down by a wild buffalo, or knocked down by a horse carriage or something, at the last moment I'm full of fear. So he asked the Buddha, he said, in that case, will I go for a bad rebirth? The Buddha said, don't worry, Mahanama. For a long time, you have followed the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And so your mind has elevated thoughts. And because your mind has elevated thoughts, that will bring you to a good rebirth. So in other words, your last moment is not so important. Why? Because our last conscious moment, at that time when we pass away, we don't really pass away. The doctor will see when your breath stops and your pulse stops, the doctor say, this man has passed away. But actually you have not. It will take another few hours. And during those few hours, you have lost consciousness of the whole world outside you, but your mind is still going on. And what you think at the very last moments, in that dream state, depends on your karma. There are some people, their karma is very good, so they'll think of good thoughts. Some people, ki ka ki chiu, when they are dying, they'll be fighting with somebody. So there was one lady who told me in Penang, the mother was dying of cancer. The last moments, her face was in pain, because she was dying in maybe the tumor burst or something. Whole face was in pain. And then after that, the doctor said she died. But the doctor told me 1 hour later, when he went to look at the mother, this mother's face was so happy, so clear, beaming. That means she got a good heart. So after the doctor said she had passed away, that is clinical death, not yet death in the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha said a person is dead, you can sense when you feel the body. If the body is cold, don't be afraid. But there are some people, they're certified dead by the doctor, the body is still warm, they put in the coffin, 2 days later he gets up. So you touch the body, if the body is cold, really dead, won't wake up again. So those 2 or 3 hours after that clinical death, before the real death, the mind is working all the time. That one you have no control. That time your karma will decide. So that's why our everyday mind is very important. That's why we train our mind every day to have wholesome thoughts. The Buddha always stressed on wholesome states of mind, to get rid of unwholesome states of mind. That will determine your good rebirth. Okay?
Good morning, Bhante. Is it possible for one to attain enlightenment without renouncing? Just like if it's female, then become a nun. Because looking at the worldly things and the conditions that we are in, it's very, very difficult to practice even if we are single in this current society, unless we renounce to become a nun. But due to certain conditions, then we still can't be a nun. Does it mean that it's difficult to attain enlightenment? Thank you.
Okay, there are various stages before full enlightenment. The first fruit is called Sotapanna, then the second fruit is called Sakadagamin, and the third is Anagamin, and the fourth is Arahanthood. Arahant is fully enlightened. Now, for the first Sotapanna, you attain it by listening to the Dhamma mainly. You can say 99.9% of the people in the suttas who attain Sotapanna were by listening to the Dhamma. And if they are intelligent enough, they understand, they get a vision of the Dhamma, and then they get right view, and they become a Sotapanna before they die. So this first fruit, Sotapanna, is not difficult to find, even among lay people. Those who are dedicated to listening to the suttas, to reading the Nikayas, they can become Sotapanna, even without any meditation, if they have the good karma, they're born intelligent. Now the second fruit, Sakadagamin, in addition to eliminating the three factors that a Sotapanna has eliminated, the Sakadagamin has reduced greed, hatred and delusion. Now greed, hatred and delusion are connected to the 5 hindrances, Pancharana. So to get rid of the 5 hindrances, or to suppress the 5 hindrances, you need jhanas, but not perfect samadhi. Perfect samadhi is required for the anagamin and the arahant. Perfect samadhi means the 4 jhanas. 4 jhanas is a very high stage of meditation where the breath stops and you are totally blissed out. So anagamins and arahants are very hard to find in the world, very hard. Even those that have reached that stage, normally they won't come and mix with society, and they are not eager to tell people that they have attained. And Sakadagamin are people who practice meditation in addition to listening to the suttas, and if they have attained the first or the second or the third jhana, they can get Sakadagamin. So as a lay person, Sotapanna is within the reach of a lot of lay people. If you are interested to come here today to listen to the Dhamma, you are already an intelligent person, already a wise person. A fool won't be interested to listen to Bhante. Hi. So boring.
Pass away, you should chant for 12 hours. Only then you'll take care of the deceased. What is your view on that?
No, this Mahayana view, there's a Mahayana view that you cannot touch the body for 8 hours, not 12. But normally it's 8 hours. And that came from one particular Pure Land monk called Tai Si Fasa. And not all Mahayana monks believe that. So it is his personal view. It does not come from the suttas. It does not even come from the Mahayana sutras. It is a personal view of a monk. So it is not valid as far as most people are concerned, because once a person is pronounced clinically dead, you touch that person won't know. His 5 senses are already withdrawn. He's only alive in the mind.
Partly my concern is, if you are organ donors, if the family was supposed to practice that way, you can't only bring our organs.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting question and answer session. Are there any burning questions you'd like to ask? Anyone? Got flame or smoke one? Any more burning questions? Yeah. Don't be shy. Please feel free. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going.
Good morning, Bhante. I always been confused by the saying of there's a God, and then I believe Buddha doesn't really thinks there's a creator or God. So how actually can we explain or understand which one is which? Is it there is no God, no creator, or there is, or how is this whole so-called Big Bang or whatever happened that there's so many living beings? Thank you.
This concept of God is a natural consequence of our thinking mind. We observe that everything has a beginning. Yeah. So since everything that we see has a beginning, so we conclude that the world also had a beginning. Yeah. And the beginning of the world is when time started. Yeah. So we believe that there is a creator God that created the world. It is, as far as we can see, it is a belief that is not proven. Has anybody proven? It's not proven. So we also cannot say that there is no God because we cannot prove it. Yeah. Now the only thing is, what do you mean by God? The person who is not a very wise person will think that God is a being up there in heaven with a long white beard looking down at you, and then making judgment. This fellow must go to heaven, this fellow must go to hell, and all this. Yeah, that is an out-of-date model of God. When we were young, maybe we had that kind of model. Years ago, when I was in school, I was in. Actually, I'm from KL. So I was in St. John's for 12 years. And during my time, we had a lot of Irish brothers. And they were very nice people. In fact, they inspired me to walk the spiritual path. So at that time, I also believed in God. I had great faith in God. In fact, every day I'd go to the chapel and pray. And I was one of those goody boys. Every day go to the chapel. But one day, when I was about 18 years old in Form 6, this computer began to really work. Then I had a lot of questions. And then when I presented these questions to those brothers, they could not give a really satisfactory answer. You see, like simple questions like, if God is supposed to be the creator of everything, and God is supposed to be almighty. God knows the past, the present, and the future. It's omniscient, etc., etc. Yeah. So you ask them a simple question like, if God is so merciful, as they say, why did God create hell? God create hell and wants to put somebody there, isn't it? Otherwise, no logic to create hell. Let everybody go to heaven. Yeah. They cannot give you a satisfactory answer. So my friend, another friend of mine asked, he's a Hindu. I said, if a person is not a Christian, but he has a very good heart, and he helps everybody, does not do evil, but he is not baptized, does he have to go to hell? And then that Lasalian brother, I thought, and then he said, no. Not logical, isn't it? If a person is a good person, why must he go to hell? Didn't harm anybody, But there's a serious answer he gave, which means you don't have to baptize to go to heaven, Yes or not? But he was quite kind. He was willing to give that kind of answer.
I previously read a book about the writer managed to talk to God. So it's called Conversation with God. So in the whole book, actually it's explained a lot of things that Bible have a lot of not right thing according to God. it mentioned that a lot of things is being rewritten or changed or things like that. Like Bhante said just now, why God created the hell or whatever. But according to the book, God said there's no hell. There's no such thing as that. Everything happened here. Everything is here. Things like that. So there's a lot of concept that been mentioned by the so-called God is totally slightly different from whatever the religion mentioned. So that's why I was confused. Like, it looks like it's really true. What?
Well, the problem is sometimes some people, they find that the Bible contradicts certain logical things that we believe now. So they try to alter the. If you go and look into for example, the early versions of the Bible, they say certain things that now new versions of the Bible will be different. When I was young and I had to study Bible knowledge as a subject for Form 3 exam, in the Bible that I read, according to Ronald Knox, somebody like Abraham, Moses, they lived to something like 25,000 years. So nowadays they say, hey, not logical, how can a man live to 25,000 years? And then they change that. But the old Bible says 25,000 years. And according to the Buddha's teaching, that is possible. Because in the Buddha's teachings, man goes through certain periods where the life can be longer and longer, and certain periods when the life becomes shorter and shorter. And according to the Buddha, the longest human life can go up to is 80,000 years. And the shortest is 10 years. A lot of things in the Bible, if you read the Bible alone, you will not understand. But when you read the Buddha's words, then you find, because the Buddha is a Samma Sambuddha, he has explained everything so clearly that even what is said in the Bible you can understand. For example, in the Bible it is said, unless a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. So now they interpret be born of the water means you must be baptized by water. And born of the Spirit means you must drink the Spirit, the wine, which is the blood of Jesus. Drink the wine, then you can go to heaven. But not according to the Buddhism. In Buddhism, the Buddha talked about 4 types of birth. Born from the egg, born from the womb, born from water or vapor, and direct transformation, that is born of the Spirit. The Buddha also said that this, the last 2, born of water